Hello, I'm Jack Grady, and on behalf of the Archives and History Committee of the First Baptist Church on the Square in LaGrange, Georgia, we welcome Korean War veteran Dale Blankenship, and we thank him for his service to our country and to our church. Dale, thank you so much for coming and participating in these interviews that we're doing with our veterans. I think it's an important project, and it's something that the people in our church will have access to if they wish. And you'll have also an opportunity to have a copy of the interview later and that you can share with your family. But we're pleased that you're here and joining in this endeavor. Tell me a little bit about your enlistment process. Were you drafted or did you volunteer?
No, I spent an unsuccessful year in college and engineering school, and I decided that I didn't have the age or the maturity to continue under the atmosphere that I was having to study under. So I decided to join the Army, primarily the paratroopers, because I found out that they got paid more. So.
The paratroopers?
Yeah.
Good for you.
A good friend of mine from Decatur and we both decided, well, we were going to sign up, which we did, and we went from Tuscaloosa to Montgomery to get enlistment and go through a
physicals and all of that business. Yeah. So you're from Alabama, Decatur, yes. Alabama, is where you grew up.
Yeah. And we were both from Decatur. We both went to the same high school and blah blah blah. So
you had spent a year at the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay.
And both of us are there, and we saw an opportunity to do two things: one, serve the country, and then two. When we got out, they were still doing the GI Bill, and we could go back to college or whatever.
Yeah. And that was very, very meaningful. That was a smart decision you made.
So it paid off for me over the years.
Good. Sure, good.
And at Montgomery, we went through the physical part of it, and as we were going down through the line, Billy, my friend, said, Dale, I didn't mention this, but I've got kidney problems.
Kidney problems?
Yeah. I said, well, Bill, don't worry about it. And I said, you just stand behind me. And so we went through the line, and when we got to the end, I just gave him half of mine.
Oh.
And we passed that with flying colors.
Oh, gee.
So we went on in, and then we got through, and we got separated some way. But when it was all over, we met outside before we went to chow. And he looked real down and out, and I said, what's wrong? He said, well, they found scar tissue on my ear, and I can't go.
Oh, no.
So I had to go by myself.
Scar tissue on his ear. So, how about that? So.
This was 1954, and May. So from there, they sent me to Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Okay, basic training.
For basic training, and in the middle of the summer, and that's a trip.
I'm sure.
And the end of the 8 weeks, they did all this testing and qualifications and what we're to assign you and so on and so forth. And after I'd finished the IQ test, they said, they didn't tell me, being ignorant, I just didn't know. They said, Mr. Blankenship, you can go to any school in the Army has, and including in officer training school.
Officers training.
And I said, no, I want to go airborne. And that shows you how dumb you can be at that age. So.
Jumping out of airplanes.
I said, I want to be a paratrooper. And so they sent me to another 8 weeks.
You could have been an officer's training.
Oh, yeah. So they sent me through another 8 weeks of basically the same thing. Advanced, they call it advanced infantry.
Wow.
So I spent 16 weeks at Fort Jackson during the summer of '54.
Yeah.
After that, then they sent us to Fort Campbell, Kentucky for jump school. And we spent a week orientation there, harassment and PT for a week before I got in jump school.
Toughening you up.
So we finally got in jump school, and that was a relief.
Was it really?
I would have believed I'd have jumped out of an airplane without a chute at the time. But it went fairly uneventful. First jump was real fun. Was an adventure.
Did you say fun?
I thought it was.
Okay.
And,
all right.
my second jump went okay till I hit the ground and I cracked my ankle.
Oh, gee.
So I hobbled through the rest of the week rather than tell them I was hurt, because I didn't want them to put me back and have to start all over again.
Sure.
So anyway, I got through with the 5 jumps, and then
And this was at Fort Campbell.
this is Fort Campbell
in Kentucky.
Then we were assigned then after jump school to companies, and I was put in the communication section of a headquarters company, battalion headquarters.
Battalion headquarters.
And so from there I went into radios and radio operation and what have you. They sent me to CW school then, which is a wireless communication, dit-dot-dit.
Oh, okay.
And,
Using Morse code.
Morse code. And so me and one other guy was only 2 in the battalion that were qualified to do that or knew how to do it. And from there, we spent several months there, and then the spring of '55, they told us the whole division was going to Germany, and they sent our whole division. Everybody that had time left, had enough time left while the whole division went to Germany.
You raise an interesting point, Dale. We forget that the Cold War was heating up, and I presume that's why they sent you to Europe.
Yes, well, part of our division was in Augsburg, and then the other part was in Munich because of facilities. And but then our job was patrolling the eastern border of Germany up and down from the
patrolling the whole eastern border of Germany during that period of time.
Right.
And that lasted about how long for you?
Well, in '57.
It's 3 years or thereabouts.
And during that time, they sent me to communications chief school, which was an MOS of being able to train a whole communications platoon, which includes
communications chief.
Well, it was
school.
In a headquarters company that consists of radio operators who furnish those for the brass for the division, for the battalion, and also wire, telephone wire, and then they had a P&A platoon which put up tents and all that sort of thing for the headquarters people. So it was an interesting assignment in a way.
What was, going back to your basic training experience, what was your most difficult challenge that you faced? Was it the first jump, or what else? You sounded like a while ago that you were looking forward to that.
The basic training was, well, to me, I was in good physical condition before I went in, and so it was basically endurance test during the time because it was hot. But
so as
far as having a challenge, it wasn't much of a challenge. To me personally, it was.
Okay, good.
After I hurt my ankle on the second jump, the third jump was a challenge.
Well, I bet it was, especially since you didn't tell them.
Yeah.
You just went right on.
Ooh, boy, I hate this.
But you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made it. As the GI would say, no sweat. But it was, I'm sure. And then there in Europe, Tell us some experiences you had there.
One real interesting. The first time we jumped, we had to jump to practice jumps in fields where the Germans, they plowed and whatever.
Oh,
In our first jump, of course, we'd never jumped that particular field, so we didn't know what to expect. And we jumped out, and we looked down, and I bet the whole little village had come out on bicycles.
oh,
And they're just all over the drop zone. I was trying to shoo them off. I said, get out of the way.
Wow.
I could just imagine hitting a bicycle,
yeah. What were they thinking? My goodness.
I don't know. He was up there,
This was a
wide open, eyes wide open watching us.
Entertainment for them.
You're going to hurt somebody.
They were entertaining the whole. You were entertaining the whole community.
So
big day for them.
It was entertaining to them, and Germany was an experience. It was I was in Nuremberg in a school for a while, and to visit Nuremberg, it was still torn up from World War II.
Yeah.
And debris. They hadn't got it cleaned up yet, and really it was still a mess.
I guess so. So it was an educational experience as well.
Oh yeah, and but Europe or Germany particularly, I was just amazed at the country. The forest, they don't have big forests like we do, but the forest they had, you could just see through there. There was no sticks on the ground, no debris, no pine needles.
Oh, you mean it was cleaned up?
Yeah, just clear. Moss, and they had picked up all the sticks and everything else. I guess to burn at that time, everybody were burning wood and coal and what have you in there at home for fuel. And but it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
And we had to stop and think. This was not too many years after World War II.
No.
And I'm sure at one point there during that World War II experience, there was a lot of debris.
Less than, including about 10 years after the end of World War II. They still didn't get it all cleaned up.
Yeah. How long were you there in Germany?
From early '55 to about May of '57. About
57. Close to 3 years. Well, 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Something like that. It
Well,
it was a good experience, really. I got out of there and got back to Birmingham and joined the active natural reserves and stayed in it for a few months, and then I joined the 20th Special Forces group that was formed in about 58, early 59, and I stayed with them till I finished college.
Special Forces.
Special Forces.
Yeah. So, in other words, you were in the reserve at that point then?
I was in the reserve. Actually, the Special Forces unit was a National Guard outfit.
I see. Okay, I didn't
We
realize.
trained most of us were veterans anyway, and it was to me, it was a very interesting experience and a unique experience because of the theory of Special Forces is that they train teams of 10 to go into a country and be able to have the ability to train a whole regiment of locals.
I see.
And this was our job, and my job was to teach these guys, or the communication guy in those teams, communications experience.
I see. Okay.
So I enjoyed that. And,
Were you actually deployed during that time with any one
no,
of those?
but we came close.
But you
they issued us new radios, new equipment. I said, we're going somewhere.
Yeah.
But we were ready to go if we had to. And
I see.
It was called off right at the last minute.
Oh,
And so
okay.
if I'd have been called up at that time, I could have never finished college. Fortunately, it happened, and I was able to finish. And,
Well, that's great. That's great. So the GI Bill meant a lot to you,
Well, it meant everything to me.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for it, and not only the GI Bill, but the ability to mature enough to buckle down and get an engineering degree after I got out. And people that lived next door to me, I was married at that time, and they said, how do you put in the hours you do? My light would be on at 4 o'clock in the morning where I was still studying. And they said, how do you do that? And I said, because I have to.
Okay.
But anyway, I got out, and within the time length before my money ran out. So,
Okay. All right.
So I graduated with honors at electrical engineering.
Electrical engineering.
Yeah, so it paid out career-wise,
Yeah.
big time.
Sure. Well, that's important. And you were very smart in the way you went about that. You had set some goals for yourself,
Well,
and you achieved
you
it.
know, I would advise any young person that they're undecided or don't have the, I don't know, tenacity or backbone to buckle down and really get after the books, to go into service for a couple of years and mature enough to where you realize how valuable it is.
Sure.
And not only get you in physical shape, but it helps you mentally and mature. So
Yes.
I would advise it for any young person.
Good. Good. I'm glad you said that. Well, I was going to ask you to tell us maybe one of your most interesting experiences, but you have shared several, and I appreciate that.
I can get started on jump stories, but one of the funniest ones
Tell us.
was I believe it was my 6th or 7th jump, but it was a mass jump, the whole battalion jump.
Wow.
And we had never jumped this drop zone, and of course we was new anyway, so I didn't, we'd only jump on the practice drop zone where so we was jumping a new drop zone. And in airborne, they drop what they call a pathfinder out prior to a jump, and when they get on the ground, they'll light a flare.
The pathfinder.
Okay. Mostly it's gray smoke, and which gives you wind direction and
I see.
all this sort of
Sure.
thing. And the pilots see that, and then that's when they give you the green light to jump. And so we were flying. It was a 124, and I believe there was 84 of us on that plane.
Wow.
And there was so many, the drop zone was so short they could only drop half of it. So the first half of us went out, and we were in there, and I could see the white smoke on the ground. And when I landed in the trees, and I was just hanging there in the tree. And this guy come running up there and said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Sure, help me get out." And I said, "By the way, what are those dead gum guns doing on the drop zone?"
Guns over the ground?
He said, "Son, this is not the drop zone. This is an artillery range." And the Air Force had screwed up. They just looked down and saw white smoke and just dropped us. But they dropped us over a practice artillery range.
Oh, my. And was action going on down
Oh,
there?
yeah, there's firing what was in there.
Oh,
yeah. I didn't know how dangerous it was. He told me what was happening. I said, "Good Lord."
Yeah, well, I guess so.
None of us got hurt, but it was scary.
Yeah, it sure could have been. Well, I wonder what kind of a lecture that pilot received after
God,
that.
I don't know if I'd have got my hands on him. He'd had a lecture.
That is quite an experience, and I can see why it stayed in your mind all these years. Well,
Another one was one time we was jumping a boy he was from Virginia, and he happened to be a Blankenship also.
Oh,
His name was Charles Blankenship. And he had seen some World War II movie where these paratroopers jumped out and they'd hollered Geronimo when they went out. You're supposed to count 4 seconds off, and then if you shoot on open, you pull your reserve. He said, well, I'm going to say Geronimo this time. And I said, well, you do what you want to. I'm going to count.
Yeah.
So he was right behind me. And so I went on out, and my chute opened. And something went by me and said, Mo.
Oh, oh no.
He had already said Geronimo, and then he held on to Mo. And he went, I guess he went 500 feet below me before his chute opened. Yeah, and he was still hollering Mo.
Good night.
I said, you idiot.
Well, he surely wasn't doing that on purpose.
Well, I don't know. He says he is going to say Geronimo, but he is still holding on to the Mo part of it. And it's done way past 4 seconds.
My goodness. Well,
but anyway,
it's good that
don't get me started.
We can laugh. I'm sure you've got a lot of interesting, fascinating stories, experiences from this time that you were in World War.
Well,
and
like
Korean
I say,
War.
I'm thankful for the experience, and I'm thankful for the Army, and I'm thankful for the government for providing me with an education, to provide a nice family, a good income, and you know, what more could you ask?
That's right. Well, I appreciate your attitude about it. We all of us who served in the military can voice that same type of comment, I'm sure. But yours is so sincere, and I appreciate your experiencing.
I want to mention one thing I saw at the VA this week that impressed me. I'd never seen it before, but there was a sign on the wall in this lady's office where I was. It said the definition of a veteran. And it said a veteran is a person who writes the government a check, and in the amount he puts up to and including my life.
That is interesting.
And
now, this was a sign on the wall at a VA,
it was
VA hospital.
About the definition of a veteran.
Definition of a veteran is a person who you
filled a blank check,
like filling out a blank check,
and in the amount he put up to and including my life,
and including my life.
Yeah.
In other words, my all.
Yeah.
That's a thought-provoking statement, isn't it?
It stuck with me.
Yeah, I could see that it did, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Good.
And that was on the wall of a VA hospital where you were recently. Well, Dale, thank you so much for sharing these experiences. I was going to say a moment ago, how would you describe these experiences in terms of preparing you for life? And I think you've already done that.
Yeah.
And
Well, it did.
Yeah. And you had a very successful career following.
Well, and plus, you know, it makes you realize what hard work can do, and you don't give up. You just keep plugging.
Keep plugging. Don't give up. Just keep plugging. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Well, I again want to thank you for coming and visiting with us, sharing your experiences. You've had a great military career, and a memorable one, certainly, because you've got so many good stories. You'll always have those good stories. And you also show an appreciation, which is commendable. I want to thank you for your service to our country, and also to our church. I know that you've been involved in this church. I don't know how many years. You can.
Oh, I've been going here, I guess, since '97.
97. So okay, this is 2013. So about 20 years. Yeah, about 20 years. And also, I know that from experience that you have been a very important part of the senior adult choir.
And I'll miss it.
Yeah, and at the present time, because of your wife's illness, you're not able to attend. But I hope that you'll be able to come back to the choir one of these days, because I know you enjoy singing and you do a good job with it. So there are other ways you also have participated in this church and its ministries, and we thank you for all of that. Let me tell you about this interview experience from the standpoint of the preparation for it and the actual conducting of the recording. I want to thank Paul Barnes, who is, I call him our technical expert. Paul is our head of our building. He's the superintendent of the building facilities here in our church and does a great job with that. There's a large staff that he manages. But he takes time to do this for our veterans, and we are deeply appreciative to Paul Barnes for that. We also thank Julian Hurst, who helps with the interviews that we are doing presently for the Korean veterans, and then later on for those who served during the Vietnam period and even thereafter. So we have some good things going here in First Baptist Church on the Square, and I know that you appreciate it as I do. I wanted to tell you that Paul Barnes is making several copies of this DVD that he's recording right now. One will be kept in our heritage room downstairs. The Archives and History Committee of our church occupies that room and maintains it. Another copy will be placed in our church library for people who would like to check it out. It's like a book in the library, and look at it, view it, and gain from what you've shared with us today. There's a copy that's going to our excellent downtown museum on Main Street, because they would like to keep that in their archives as well as our church. And then there'll be a copy that will be given to you for you to keep. So thanks so much for coming and sharing, and best wishes to you in the days ahead.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.